Morning, everyone. Zell, would you start us off this morning?
Sorry, I had to get my audio on, guys.
Okay.
Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, and whatever your life circumstance, you are welcome here.
We begin our service this morning with a call to worship based on a text by Reverend Anna Bladel. Today, we remember and honor the legacies of resistance to evil, injustice, and oppression that have enabled our being and invited our becoming. We remember and honor the legacies of faith in beauty, joy, and gladness that have enabled our being and invited our becoming. So, beloveds, bring your beautiful, messy, aching, wondrous selves. Bring your laughter. Bring your rage. Bring your tears. Bring your fears. Bring the insight that only you can offer. Bring the imagination that bursts open old wineskins. Because we need each other. Because our liberation is bound up together, because we must love each other and support each other, because we must fight for each other and learn from each other, because we have nothing to lose but our chains, because the fear that nothing else is possible is deadening and deadly. Because the master's tools will never dismantle this master's house and any house built on white supremacy and colonialism, transphobia and anti-queerness, patriarchy and ableism and classism will hold all of us captive and crush all of our dreams. Because freedom is a constant struggle, and the labor is hard, but it is holy too. And there is joy to be found in laboring together. Sal, I'll turn it back to you to say our words of our chalice lighting.
I realize I lit the chalice early.
That's okay, I have to.
Thank you, Diana. We light the chalice as a symbol of our sacred time. The burning chalice represents the light of reason and science, the warmth of loving community, the cleansing heat of justice, and the flame of hope.
Our opening hymn is number 210 in our gray hymnal. It's the African American spiritual Wade in the Water. It was a code song from the Underground Railroad, sending a signal to enslaved people who were planning to escape to stay in the water, to move through the river so the hounds wouldn't be able to follow. This song was a lifeline, offering directions on how to get away, how to stay alive. We'll hear a performance by Sweet Honey in the Rock. You are very welcome to sing along at home. Staying muted, of course. So here is Wade in the Water, Sweet Honey in the Rock.
Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water, God's gonna trouble the water. Come on and wade in the water. You gotta wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna white. God's gonna trouble the water. You know they must be the children of the Israelites. God's gonna trouble the water. Well, now you wanna wait in the water. Wait in the water, children. Wait on me in the water. I'm telling you, God's gonna trouble the water. See those children dressed in black. God's gonna trouble the water. You know, they come a long way, ain't turning back. No, no, no. See the children, they're dressed up in blue. You know my God's gonna trouble the water. I see it looks like my people, they're coming on through. Well, my God's gonna trouble the water. Well, everybody is waiting on the trouble the water. See those children dressed in red. My God, He's gonna trouble the water. You know it must be the children that Moses led. My God, He's gonna trouble the water. See those children all dressed in green. God's gonna trouble the water. You know they're moving down to that Jordan stream. Well, God's gonna trouble the water. Come on, children, wait in the water, my children. Some say Peter and some say Paul. My God, my God. Well, you know there ain't but one God made us all. God's gonna trouble the water. Everybody ought to just wait on it. Wait in the water.
This is a time for all ages based on a story by UU Director of Religious Education, Gail Forsyth Vale. Once there was a man named Rip Van Winkle who liked to share stories, and he was kindly to children, but he avoided hard work or anything that he thought unpleasant. One day, as the story goes, he found a nice grassy place on a mountain and he fell asleep. And this was no ordinary nap. Rip Van Winkle slept for 20 years. 20 years! What do you think he missed in that amount of time? Well, one of the really important things that he missed was the American Revolution. When he went up the mountain, he lived in a British colony. When he came down 20 years later, he lived in the new United States. Well, this is an old and famous story. But did you know that it was a favorite of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King? It's one he told a lot. As a matter of fact, he told it to a huge crowd of Unitarian Universalists in 1966. He talked about the civil rights movement, and he urged all those who heard him to wake up, to not sleep through the big changes that were happening all around as Black people and their supporters worked to gain equality rights. He asked white people in particular not to sleep and ignore injustice. He urged people to wake up. Well, more recently, Black people, trans people, immigrants, and lots of other folks have been sending the same message that Dr. King sent over 50 years ago. Wake up. The injustice, the unfairness, it's still there. And we need to do something about it. Wake up. So for all of the kids, for the young folks that are with us today, I'm going to ask you to help me deliver this message. You might have some neighbors who are still asleep. Maybe they need a little bit of help. So I'm going to ask you to help me to wake everybody up. So for the families with kids, if you could go ahead and unmute yourselves, go ahead and do that. And then together, let's practice saying 1, 2, 3. Wake up to injustice. Let's try that one more time. Wake up to injustice. All right, you guys, I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, and then you all say it as loudly as you possibly can. Remember, you're waking people up who are far away. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wake up
to injustice.
Yay! Thank you guys. Thanks for helping us wake everybody up today. That is the best of all possible alarm clocks. Thank you guys.
Out here.
All right, you can mute yourselves back up now. And at this point, I'm going to ask Zell to share a reflection with us.
Hi, folks. You're familiar with me. My name is Zell. I grew up in this congregation. I'm really happy to be talking to you today. Diana messaged me about giving a reflection because I've been protesting recently due to the police violence and horrible injustices that are happening in our country today. And it is past time for white communities to root deeper into their histories and demonstrate their values. Love is resistance when generations of voices have been silenced violently and forsaken. Abolishing destructive influences and institutions which profit off of their suffocation will uplift our most vulnerable neighbors. As a Unitarian Universalist, I'm proud to have a spiritual heritage which teaches a constant effort for justice and growth. You use ourselves as congregations and individuals, must reflect upon the distinctions between intent and impact. Who in our communities have been unheard? How many have been unheard? How may we give restitution and uplift them? The work of transformative justice is a matter of spirit. Every single day holds battles. Moments we must make the choice to hold true to the 7 principles which join us together. It is such an easy choice. We can decide to boycott businesses, protest in the streets. We can use our voices in the ballot box. At family dinners, we may use our professional and social influences to spark change. To become the helpers we want to see in the world, to become the helpers our larger communities need us to be. This faith drives me to push out of my comfort zone and abandon my fears. The flaming chalice, designed to aid UU efforts during World War II, symbolizing a healing cup brimming with the light of reason, hope, and sacrificial love, inspires me to continue learning from people who've been striving for freedom their whole lives. I listen, I follow their lead. It is a privilege to participate in direct actions such as public protesting. There are many ways in which I cannot use my voice, however, and this is why each and every one of us must act in the ways we are able. I ask our congregation to dig deep into your hearts and join our city's representatives, the educators, the activists and artists, the medical professionals, the social workers, all who are fighting now in their efforts. We must listen and follow the Black voices in Oklahoma City. We must support the Black community in this moment in history. We must recognize all who are striving for freedom. This is why I go out there and feel an obligation to. My white privilege protects me and has my whole life. This is something that I cannot change. I can only use my voice to fight against the system that we are living in. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Zell. Every Sunday, we take an offering. Since 2002, all the cash and designated checks from that offering have gone directly to external nonprofit organizations doing good work in our community, our Change for Change partners. This month, our Change for Change partner is Sisu Youth Incorporated. Their mission is to ensure that youth experiencing homelessness have a safe place to sleep, the security to dream, and support to make a positive impact on the world. During COVID-19, they are still taking meals and supplies to young people at their gates, delivering food boxes, and hosting telemed for mental health support. At this point, I'll play some music and give you all a chance to make your donation to our special Change for Change. You may wish to make your donation using a credit card through our website, or this could be a good time to find your checkbook, write out a check, and put it aside to mail to First Unitarian tomorrow morning. Let today's offering reflect our highest aspirations for the work of the church in the world. This is hymn number 95 in our gray hymnal, There is More Love Somewhere.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere.
It's been a tradition at First Unitarian that in the spring, we award a Member of the Year to an individual in our congregation who has gone above and beyond and serving as a member of the congregation. And I would like to invite our president-elect, Ingrid Young, to unmute herself and to introduce our Member of the Year 2020.
Good morning. When I was asked to introduce our Member of the Year, I asked Marlise to send me what are the criteria for this. It was just a short blurb saying, a member who gives outstanding service to the church. And I feel 100% sure that this year's Member of the Year defines outstanding contributions. Even before the virus and the shutdown hit, Chris Gonzalez spearheaded the purchase and installation of the new AV system. This was an important job and a huge amount of work which spanned many months. He gave and will keep on giving very careful attention to his role as clerk on the Board of Trustees. But after the shutdown, the list of his contributions just takes off. Chris set up both Marlise and Nathan so that they could work remotely from home. He moved Beverly's computer from her office to her house. When the internet connection goes down in the office at church, Chris is often the one who goes and resets it so that remote work can begin again. I have talked to so many people who were struggling with joining services and classes or groups online. They had the equipment at home, but they couldn't master the new and challenging environment. Chris went to their houses and he made it possible for them to be part of our community again. This is so important and such a gift to us in this really hard time. Chris combines knowledge and patience, and that to me is what makes a teacher great. And the gift that you gave us of that wonderful virtual choir performance was really extraordinary. Thank you from everyone at your church for all you do. We are so appreciative and impressed. Could you mute? That's what I said.
Thank you so much, Chris. I don't want to put you on the spot and ask you to give an impromptu speech now. Thank you so much for everything you do for us.
Just thank all of you. Thank you.
Well, we move on to an award that it's unusual for us to give at this time of year. Normally, we award our congregational treasure once a year in the fall. But this year, the person that we want to recognize has gone so far above and beyond through their service to this congregation that we just couldn't wait. We couldn't wait until the fall. We wanted to do it now. So I'd like to introduce our congregational president, Susan Bishop, to announce our congregational treasurer for 2020. Susan?
Good morning. One of the most honorable things that I can do as president is to present an award to someone who has demonstrated that being a church treasurer is something quite special. So let me tell you what I know about this person and what I've been told. She has incredible dedication and devotion to our church's Lifespan Religious Exploration Program. In fact, she's currently the chair of the LRE committee, and if you ask her, does she have any free time, she'll laugh and say, well, probably not, but will eagerly volunteer to help. She is the epitome of a helping hand. She makes things happen for our children and youth, whether it's Chalice Camp, Camp Murray, Sunday RE classes, Coming of Age, Quest, OWL, volunteer brunches, our auction, chaperoning our kids at youth rallies, and so much more. This year, this incredible woman made certain that every coming of age youth received a gift by personally delivering them to their homes during this pandemic. She dedicated herself to helping Pete Fontenot, our interim LRED, during the past 2 years. Please don't misunderstand. She hasn't only stepped up for these 2 years, but year after year after year. Her kind and generous spirit and dedication to this church is truly a treasure. I cannot think of anyone more deserving than Sherry Fair. Congratulations, Sherry.
And Sherry, this is John Palumbo. I get the honor to speak on behalf of the Lifespan Religious Exploration team about just how incredible you are. I told Reverend Diana that I needed 2 hours to say all the great things that you do, but she gave me 2 minutes. So I'll give 2 examples of just the small touches that you give us, Sherry, that make things so amazing. First of all, when my daughter Chandani and all the other youth going through coming of age had their credo service, Sherry personally delivered gifts to each house so that they could open those gifts during the service. Another incredible example of the small touches Sherry gives, she personally wrote thank you cards to every RE teacher and then brought them to our LRET meeting so we could all sign and get shared credit. But Sherry always has those little personal touches that go above and beyond. So it's our turn to thank you, Sherry. First thing for you, there's a little basket next to you on the table there. That basket is full of little things for you to pamper yourself, because you're always taking the effort to pamper and give love to everyone else. Well, time for you to give a little love to yourself. Take care of yourself in these trying times. Second, that box that's wrapped up on the table next to you, there's some kind of crazy instructions. If you can pull the little tab on the side and then pull open the top.
Tab on side.
And then you'll have to open that up and.
Do I need to get like a letter opener? Now we got it.
You should be able to lift it up. Oh, we'll figure out. Unscrew that that piece on the top there, and you will be able to lift out a lamp. On that lamp is a shade that is decorated with the UU chalice. The flame chalice has many meanings, including the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the flame of hope. Yep, you flip it over. Perfect. And Sherry, you truly are the chalice for this church. You are our light of reason. You deliver the warmth of community, and you are our flame of hope. So we hope that when you use this lamp, that it brings you illumination, warmth, comfort, and love. Sherry, we love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mom, do you have any words to say to everybody?
I'm blown away and had no idea. And thank you so much. There's been so many people that have helped do things all these years, and I just I don't know what to say, but thank you.
You're the real MVP.
Oh wow.
Sherry, thank you so much.
Very honored, and thank you.
I want to point out that behind me, I know you can't see them, but we have our plaques that we brought in from church. We have our chalice from church, and we have our plaques for the outstanding service. And we have Chris Gonzalez's name right there on the plaque. And then over here for our congregational treasurer, we have Sherry's bearer's name. You will see these on the wall in the hallway when we're together in person again. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to everyone. Oh, take a deep breath with me, please. Please join me in a spirit of prayer or meditation. Spirit of love, powerful spirit of justice. We've just celebrated a moment of great joy, but at the same time, we're mourning today. We're mourning the loss of yet 2 more trans Black women, victims of racist, cis-sexist hatred. Rhea Milton of Liberty Township, Ohio, and Dominique Remy Fells of Philadelphia. We light a candle in your memory. May you rest in peace and in power. Today, we also recognize the 4-year anniversary, just 2 days ago, of the mass shooting at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. We mourn for the 49 beautiful spirits who were taken from this life by hate. We light a candle in your memory. May you rest in peace and in power. We remember Tony McDade, a Black trans man killed by police in Florida on May 27th. We remember Nina Pop, Monica Diamond, and the other transgender lives lost to violence this year. We light a candle in your memory. May you rest in peace and in power. And we continue to remember all the Black lives lost to police brutality. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many others. We light a candle in your memory. May you rest in peace and in power. Let's take a moment of silence to ponder all of these losses and to commit to waking up and calling others to wake up, to see what is happening, to do our parts in dismantling white supremacy and all forms of oppression. Blessed be. Amen. Six years ago, I had the opportunity to march in the Pride Parade in New York City. My husband Jim was working for a large financial company that was one of the many corporate sponsors of the event. And we were invited to march with the group representing that firm. I remember it was a bright and beautiful summer day. We were wearing our t-shirts with the company logo, smiling and throwing corporate swag to the throngs of people on the sidelines. There was a strong police presence, but it was completely friendly. They were taking care of us, it seemed. And when we came to the end of the route by the famous Stonewall Inn, there was no sudden somberness, no sense that something violent had happened there once. There was simply joy. How different from the pictures we see today, coming from places like Minneapolis, Seattle, Washington, D.C., Chicago, and New York City, where buildings have burned, cars have driven into crowds of protesters, and police have been caught on film shooting tear gas and rubber bullets, in some cases even ripping the masks off of peaceful protesters before shooting them in the face with pepper spray, hitting people with their batons, shoving an elderly man onto the cement and walking by as he lied there, bleeding from his head. I ask you to take a moment and bring these pictures into your mind's eye. On one hand, the happy, family-friendly, police-friendly event that annual Pride has become. And on the other hand, those images of police shooting tear gas and rubber bullets.
How are you?
Into a peaceful crowd of Black Lives Matter protesters in Lafayette Square. so the present can have a photo op holding a book he once saw. How could two things be more different? And yet peel back the history of Pride and you come back to the Stonewall Inn, where in the early hours of June 28th, 1969, an uprising was sparked that helped to change the course of history for LGBTQ rights. At the core of cheerful pride, there is a kernel of violence, a relic of rage. There is a riot. And at the historical core, there are also trans women of color, one of whom, Marcia P. Johnson, has only recently emerged from the murky depths of disremembering. Marcia was 23 years old when the Stonewall Uprising occurred. She referred to herself as a nobody from Nowheresville, but she was so much more. Look her up and you will find photos of a beautiful Black, gender non-conforming person bedecked in cheap jewelry, wearing a crown of fresh flowers, her eyes sparkling, the smile as big and as warm as the midday sun on a late spring day. She was known to many as the mayor of Christopher Street, the street where the Stonewall was located. She had taken Johnson as her last name in honor of the Howard Johnson's restaurant where she liked to hold court. And her middle initial, P, she said stood for Pay It No Mind, which was her standard answer when people would ask questions about her gender. For many in the gay and trans communities at that time, from the 60s through the 80s, she was their mother. She was Saint Marcia. She was called by some a bodhisattva, which from Buddhism is a person who sacrifices nirvana to stay with those who are hurting and help them find freedom from their pain. And indeed, Marcia gave her all to help her people. She was a founding member of the Gay Liberation Front. She was an AIDS activist. Along with her friend Sylvia Rivera, she founded STARS, an advocacy organization and a shelter for young gay and trans people who were living on the streets. It would be easy to paint Marcia P. Johnson as a purely peaceful, benevolent spirit, but that would be a disservice to her memory. You know those paintings of Jesus in which he's depicted as a pale and ethereal creature, more angel than man, and how those paintings work to erase the olive-skinned Rabbi Jesus, who in a muscular rage personally destroyed the property of small businessmen at the temple in Jerusalem. Well, it would be easy to fall into the same fallacy if we remember Marcia only as a sweet and peaceful spirit. Marcia's role in the Stonewall Uprising is remembered differently by different people. Some say that when police raided the gay bar early, in the very early hours, pushing 200 people to the door, demanding their ID, roughing them up and beating some of them, Marcia shouted, "I got my civil rights," and threw a shot glass, breaking a mirror, which some later called the shot glass heard around the world. Others say that she threw the first brick at a police officer. Most agree that she climbed up a lamppost and hurled a heavy object onto a police car. What we do know is that she was there and she did not protest peacefully. Because Marcia was kind, but she was also angry. And she had every reason to be angry. Marcia was the marginalized of the marginalized, and she lived right smack in the middle of the busy intersection of oppressions. not only Black, but gender nonconforming, queer, feminine presenting, poor, frequently unhoused, and living with mental illness. Marcia had been arrested more times than she could remember and shot at least once. And even though she played a leading role in the Stonewall Uprising, that pivotal moment for gay rights, only a few years later, she and her friend Sylvia were banned from the Gay Pride Parade, told by some organizers, quote, "We're not going to allow drag queens to give us a bad name." She was betrayed again and again. And in 1992, she was betrayed yet once more when her body was found floating in the Hudson River and the police deemed her death to be a suicide without further investigation. She was just one of so many Black trans women who are lost to violence and whose lives and stories are erased every year. Yes, on that night in 1969, Marcia was angry and she participated in violent protest. But before white folks like me begin shaking our heads and thinking, oh, it's just too bad she couldn't have followed the peaceful model of Reverend Dr. King. Before we make any judgments about those marginalized folks today who participate in the destruction of property during larger waves of protest, we need to hearken to the words of people like Kimberly Jones, the author whose video with the title, "How Can We Win?" has gone viral. And if you haven't seen this video yet, I strongly encourage you to watch it as soon as possible. There are even versions with the swear words edited out in case you want to watch it with your children. In this video, Ms. Jones offers a simple explanation for the rage that is at the heart of what some people call riots and others call an uprising. She asks us to consider what it would be like to be forced to play 400 rounds of Monopoly, in which not only are you not giving money or houses or get out of jail free cards, but in which everything you do to earn, everything you earn goes to the person you're playing against. And then after 400 rounds of that, once you are allowed to play for yourself, if your opponent doesn't like the way you're playing, or if you start to play a little too well, your opponent drops bombs on your houses, burns all your money, and wipes your playing piece completely off the board. And after 50 years of that, your opponent asks, why haven't you earned anything for yourself? Why don't you own anything? Why are you so angry? Marsha P. Johnson was kind and giving, but she was also angry. And her anger helped to spark a movement. That movement for LGBTQ rights is clearly far from over, as we saw just last week when the Trump administration reversed hard-won protections for trans people. That movement was too often whitewashed and tamed, leaving a hole in its history where the memories of Black and Latinx people like Marcia and Sylvia had been erased. Finally, this year, some Pride organizers are returning to their roots, remembering those trans women of color whose rage lit the fire of justice. And now it is up to white activists and allies to honor that rage, to not ask those who have been oppressed, especially those who have lived at the intersection of multiple oppressions, to be nice. To not allow Marcia to sink back down into the murky river of forgetting, but to honor her memory by celebrating and supporting all her Black, brown, trans, non-binary, queer, poor, disabled, non-Christian, immigrant siblings as they break the surface of a new day, shining in power. We've come to the end of our service, and I'm going to ask Zell to unmute once more. And as I extinguish my chalice here, I'll ask them to extinguish the chalice there. Zell?
I'm here. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of love and community, which burns in our hearts.
Our closing hymn is Love Reaches Out, created by the artist at the sanctuaries, the UU-sponsored sanctuaries in Washington, D.C. This is Love Reaches Out.
In the rain, blinded, I'll show you that way back home. But don't you worry, 'cause I've been with you all along.
Oh, I ain't worried, 'cause I can feel it. I can feel it. Yeah, they said it's hard to really see it, and the reason why we living. Don't chase it with your eyes, can recognize it till it's given. The world in front of me became the molding of my vision. The pain that came to me is what I blame in my decisions. How can I find the courage when my heart is feeling missing? How do I find a time when I know that the clock is ticking? I'm a soldier for this love, is guaranteed to be my mission. Wish I could find it easy like I see it in the children. Hey, looking back as I move forward, Sankofa, I want a love that explodes, call it a supernova. What it takes to reach the heavens, let me stand closer. Put the pieces all together, witness Jehovah. God is patient with his son, he plant the seed and let it grow. When I love it unconditional, I learn to let it go. Open your arms, what I'm talking about. Without a doubt, I can feel the love reaching out.
Love reaches out. My love reaches out. Love reaches out. Love reaches out.
My love reaches out. Can you feel it? Yeah. I'm never giving up, I'm keeping cool, I'm in control. My praise, I give it up, a higher power's in control. This light is guiding me, I'm armed with everything I know. This love is getting closer, I can feel it in my soul. Long as I am living, I still got the time to show the patience that was given from the ones that let me grow. Forgive me for debating back and forth, to and fro. This love is reaching out, I'm giving it to you and yours. Walk with me in solidarity. My sanctuary eases my disparity. When I look into your eyes, I'm looking carefully. What do you know? There is me. No more questioning the things that I can never see. Touch, taste, smell, hear, no more mystery. Just the faith that's stronger than my pain and misery. I found it in myself and it will forever be. The breath of love that gave me the breath of life. A breath of lost spirits, give it back and I energize. If I never take another, let my voice come and speak it out. And give you the feeling of love reaching out.
Love reaches out.
Yes, it does.
My love reaches
And I can feel it, I can feel it, I can feel it. Hey.
Love reaches out. My love reaches
Can you
out.
hear it? Can you hear it? Can you hear it now?
Reaches out.
Oh, yes, it does.
Love reaches
Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Hey.
Love can change you, let it grow. The seeds will reap the love you sow. Feel your heart till it explodes, and love can take over your soul. Love opens doors without a key. Evolves through patience and honesty. Trust love and just let it be. Feel the power of love between you and me. Between you and me. Between you and me. Feel the power of love between you and me. Love reaches out.
feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it now?
My love reaches out.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Can you hear it now?
My love reaches out. Love reaches out. Reaches out. When it's cold outside, my love gonna reach out and warm your soul.
Go now in peace. Go now in compassion. And may the power of courageous love guide you and strengthen you always. Blessed be.